Hey everyone, I'm Kevin, and this is HFX by Bike, a channel all about getting around Halifax by bike. In today's video, I'll be making a trip from Quinpool Towers in the West End of Halifax to the Millstone Public House at King's Wharf in Dartmouth Cove. As always, I'll be playing a game of +1 - 2 along the way. Every time I run into something that makes my trip safer or more convenient, I'll add a point, and every time I run into something that makes it less safe or less convenient, I'll take away 2 points. You can keep track of how I think the ride is going by looking at the heads-up display in the bottom right-hand corner. I filmed this at the very start of spring when the sky couldn't really decide between light rain and snow. Leaving Quinpool Towers, I immediately hit this short multi-use path heading towards Windsor Street. Once I'm on Windsor, I have access to some painted bike lanes, but I'm immediately leaving them. The crossing onto the Commons at Roby is a forced dismount. The Commons itself works as a multi-use path. I think the weather today is keeping people away, but generally the paths can feel pretty crowded. The alignment of the paths on the Commons aren't really optimized for either walking or biking, so you end up with these weird hairpin turns all over the place. The Commons isn't all narrow. This section is quite wide and can accommodate large numbers of bikes and pedestrians traveling in both directions. The path continues through the Cogswell roundabout. It's a really narrow space to be shared between bikes and pedestrians, and constantly dipping on and off the road surface makes it really bumpy if you're going by bike. Cars aren't very good at stopping for pedestrians or cyclists at the roundabout, partly because it's designed to optimize for their speed. There's a smooth connection from the Commons to the Rainy protected bike lanes. Rainy is bidirectional and guarded by a mix of flex posts and hard barriers, so I get to be out of traffic as I head downtown. All that aside, the city has done some patchwork since I last did my video on Rainy, and so the paving is quite a bit improved. That's the end of the Rainy bike lane. There's a gap in the barrier to allow merging into traffic to head down Duke Street. I find the layout here kind of informal, and I wish there was a bike box or something to clarify the use. I'm now on a major road without any bike infrastructure, but at least biking down Duke Street is fun. Also, I've managed to stay out of traffic for a little bit over a kilometer, so here's the bonus point. This is the Hollis Street protected bike lane. It's barrier protected, wide, and has decent paving. I'm going to take the left here to get to the ferry terminal. Making a left out of a protected bike lane can be pretty awkward, so I'm going to do what's called a Copenhagen left, where you pop into the far lane of the intersecting street and wait for the light to change. Except I've played myself because Hollis is a one-way street, and so this lane only goes right. No one is around to watch me shamefully dismount and walk across as the light changes. This is the Halifax ferry terminal. Bikes and e-bikes are allowed on all of the ferries, and there's a space to secure your bike by the entrance on each ferry. I'm just offloading from the ferry at the Alderney Terminal. From here, it's a short ride along the Dartmouth Harbour Walk Trail to Dartmouth Cove. The trail functions as a multi-use path. Unfortunately, the section connecting the ferry terminal to Dartmouth Cove is extremely narrow. There isn't a good way to cross or merge into traffic here, so you mostly just wait for a gap. That's the end of the bike infrastructure, but technically this is a local street, so I won't take any points off. I will take points off for the fact that this local street is like 5 lanes wide. That's nuts. Between the ferry and the trail, I was out of traffic for another 2 kilometers. I've arrived at the Millstone Public House, and oh look, there's some bike parking out front. My trip from West End Halifax to King's Wharf in Dartmouth Cove covered about 4.5 kilometers and took roughly 26 minutes, over half of which was spent riding the ferry. Most of the trip was outside of traffic, with the main exception being Duke Street downtown. This kind of trip is pretty approachable, although there's definitely some spaces that could use improvement, especially wherever the bike network interfaces with regular traffic. Most such cases are handled essentially informally, like the gap in the barrier at Rainy and Duke, or where the Dartmouth Trail intersects with King's Wharf. That's it for this one. Let me know what kind of trips around the city that you'd like to see me cover, or what kind of local businesses I should visit. And if you like this kind of thing, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. As always, thanks for watching, and see you next time.